think again. Some top brands could be slowly poisoning you with mercury and toxic chemicals. By the end of this video, discover which 5 to avoid and which 2 are safe. Let's get into it. Here's something the tuna industry doesn't want you to know. That premium white tuna you're paying extra for, it may in fact be one of the riskiest choices you can make. Albacore tuna, marketed as white tuna, is a larger, longer-lived species than many of the smaller tunas. And here's where danger creeps in. The bigger and older the fish, the more opportunity it has to accumulate mercury in its flesh. Mercury doesn't simply wash out, it builds up, bioaccumulates, concentrates, and remains until you consume it. Larger tuna species like albacore tend to accumulate significantly higher mercury levels in their tissues than smaller varieties. When you consume mercury repeatedly, it doesn't exit your body quickly either. It accumulates in organs like the brain, kidneys, and central nervous system. You may already know that pregnant women and young children are often advised to limit or avoid albacore tuna. That's because mercury exposure in pregnancy can interfere with a developing baby's brain and nervous system. But here's the alarming bit. Even outside of pregnancy, chronic mercury exposure can affect everyone. In recent laboratory testing, some albacore white tuna products revealed high mercury concentrations, so high in fact that safe consumption might be limited to only 1 serving per week or less in some cases. Pause for a moment. If you eat tuna salad sandwiches twice a week or add white tuna to your salads regularly, you might be exceeding safe mercury thresholds without realizing it. Symptoms of mercury toxicity don't emerge overnight. They creep in. Memory lapses, poor concentration, tingling or numbness in hands or feet, vision disturbances. Most people never link such symptoms to that seemingly innocent can of premium tuna. So why do brands continue pushing albacore? Because it's more expensive, milder in flavor, and easier to market as premium. But your health should not be the cost of white tuna. Let's talk about StarKist, one of the most recognizable tuna brands in America. That smiling cartoon tuna on the can has been a kitchen staple for decades. Your mom probably bought it. Your grandma definitely bought it. But familiarity doesn't equal safety. StarKist's albacore products are some of the most popular on grocery store shelves, but testing reveals a troubling reality. The brand's white albacore tuna consistently shows elevated mercury levels that put it in the limit consumption category. While StarKist tuna can be consumed safely when following guidelines, their albacore variety should be limited to just 1 serving per week due to higher mercury content. But here's what bothers me most. Look at any StarKist package, and you'll see them promoting their tuna as a healthy protein choice. They emphasize the omega-3 benefits, the lean protein, the convenience. What they don't emphasize? The mercury levels, and the fact that you shouldn't be eating it more than once a week. And it gets worse. Many StarKist products are packed in vegetable broth or oil with added sodium. Some varieties contain over 300 milligrams of sodium per serving. That's nearly 15% of your daily recommended intake in just 1 small can. If you're watching your blood pressure or trying to reduce sodium, this becomes a double threat. The company also faced legal issues in the past over price fixing, which shows you where their priorities lie. When profit comes before transparency, consumers lose. Now, I'm not saying StarKist is intentionally trying to harm anyone, but when you're one of the biggest tuna brands in the world, you have a responsibility to be crystal clear about the risks. A tiny warning label on the back of the can that most people never read isn't enough. If you have StarKist albacore in your pantry right now, I'd seriously reconsider keeping it as your regular choice. Moving on to another household name, Chicken of the Sea. Yes, the brand Jessica Simpson made famous when she asked if it was actually chicken. If only the mercury content were that funny. Chicken of the Sea's albacore products face the exact same mercury issues as StarKist. Testing showed that Chicken of the Sea's albacore variety contained 10 times more mercury than their light tuna options. 10 times. Let that sink in. Here's a real-world scenario for you. Imagine you're trying to eat healthy. You decide to meal prep for the week. You buy several cans of Chicken of the Sea albacore because it's on sale and you've seen the brand forever. You make tuna salads, tuna melts, maybe a nice tuna pasta. By the end of the week, you've consumed 4 or 5 cans. You feel good about your choices, high protein, low carb, affordable. But what you didn't know is that you just consumed potentially dangerous levels of mercury. Not from some sketchy unknown brand, but from a name you've trusted your entire life. The FDA recommends that adults consume no more than 1 5-ounce serving of albacore tuna per week. That's it. 1. But nowhere on Chicken of the Sea packaging does it clearly warn you about this limitation in big, bold letters. That guidance exists for a reason. Albacore, white, tuna contains significantly more mercury than light tuna, and excessive consumption can raise mercury levels in your body over time. Another issue, the liquid these tunas are packed in. Many Chicken of the Sea products use soybean oil or vegetable broth loaded with sodium. When you drain that can, you're still left with residual oil and salt coating every piece of fish. Not ideal if you're watching your blood pressure or trying to reduce sodium. And let's talk about sustainability for a moment. While Chicken of the Sea has made some efforts toward responsible fishing through its Sea Change initiative, concerns remain about sourcing practices and their environmental impact. When you're buying tuna, you're not just making a choice for your health, you're making a choice for the planet too. The bottom line? Chicken of the Sea albacore is another brand that should be on your avoid list if you care about limiting mercury exposure. Before we continue, if you're finding this information valuable and you want to make better choices for your family's health, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We expose hidden dangers in everyday foods that most people never think twice about. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's talk about the can itself and why it might be even more dangerous than the tuna inside. Bumblebee is the third major player in the American tuna market, and unfortunately, they're not much better than the competition when it comes to their albacore products. Here's what makes Bumblebee particularly problematic: inconsistency. Testing of various tuna brands revealed a wide range of mercury levels, making it difficult to predict exposure from can to can. Think about what that means. You could open one can of Bumblebee albacore and get a relatively lower mercury level. Then you open another can from a different batch, and suddenly you're consuming significantly more mercury. It's like playing Russian roulette with your health. This inconsistency isn't necessarily Bumblebee's fault alone. It reflects the reality of commercial fishing. Tuna are caught from different oceans, at different times, at different stages of their lives. A younger albacore will have less mercury than an older one. A fish from one region might have different contamination levels than one from another area. But here's my issue. If Bumblebee knows this variability exists, why aren't they testing every batch and labeling accordingly? Why isn't there a clear mercury level printed on each can so consumers can make informed choices? Did you know that Bumblebee actually filed for bankruptcy a few years back, partly due to the financial fallout from a price-fixing scandal? When a company is struggling financially and has shown ethical lapses in the past, can you really trust them to prioritize your health over their bottom line? Beyond mercury, there's also the issue of how their tuna is caught. Some Bumblebee products use fishing methods that result in high bycatch rates, meaning dolphins, sea turtles, and other marine life get caught and killed in the process. Again, this might not affect your immediate health, but it speaks to corporate responsibility. The sodium content in Bumblebee products is another red flag. Some varieties pack nearly 400 milligrams of sodium per serving. Combine high mercury with high sodium, and you've got a product that's working against your health on multiple fronts. If you're loyal to Bumblebee because it's what you grew up with, I get it. Brand loyalty is powerful, but sometimes you have to let go of nostalgia when your health is on the line. Now, this one honestly surprised me, and I think it's going to surprise you too. Wild Planet markets itself as a premium, sustainable brand. They talk about pole and line fishing, protecting ocean ecosystems, and keeping ingredients clean and simple. On paper, they look like one of the good guys, and to be fair, in many ways, they are. Wild Planet has strong sustainability credentials, transparent sourcing, and a reputation for avoiding destructive fishing practices. But here's the curveball. mercury levels. Independent lab tests, including studies referenced by Consumer Reports, found that Wild Planet Skipjack wild tuna sometimes shows mercury levels closer to albacore tuna than to typical light tuna. That's a serious concern because skipjack is supposed to be the safe choice, the smaller, younger species that doesn't accumulate much mercury. The problem? Some Wild Planet skipjack samples reach mercury concentrations high enough that health experts recommend limiting consumption to just 1 serving per week. That's the same advice usually reserved for white albacore tuna, not light tuna. So what's going on here? It likely comes down to where and how the fish are caught. Skipjack from certain regions naturally contain higher mercury due to ocean pollution patterns. And since Wild Planet avoids massive industrial nets, their fish might come from smaller, more variable sources. Still, this creates a major perception gap. People buy Wild Planet thinking they're getting the safest, cleanest tuna on the shelf. They pay 2 to 3 times more than for conventional brands, expecting premium health benefits, and yet the mercury numbers tell a different story. To their credit, Wild Planet doesn't hide behind marketing. They publish sustainability and mercury testing data online. But let's be honest, most shoppers aren't reading scientific tables. They see the wild-caught label, the eco-friendly branding, and assume it's automatically safer. Here's the catch. Wild Planet tuna is packed in its own natural juices. No added water or oil. That's great for keeping omega-3 levels high, but it also concentrates whatever's inside the fish, including mercury. So if you've been buying Wild Planet skipjack, believing it's the cleanest, healthiest tuna you can feed your family, it might be time to rethink that assumption. The brand does a lot of things right, but in this case, premium doesn't automatically mean safer. Now let's talk about something even more insidious than mercury, the can itself. Most people focus entirely on what's inside the can and completely ignore what the can is made of. Big mistake. Consumer Reports and other independent tests have found measurable levels of BPA in canned tuna products, even in some labeled BPA-free. BPA, or bisphenol A, is a chemical commonly used in the linings of metal food cans to prevent corrosion and contamination. The problem? BPA is an endocrine disruptor, meaning it interferes with your body's natural hormones. Studies have linked BPA exposure to fertility problems, certain cancers, heart disease, diabetes, and developmental issues in children. And here's the kicker. It doesn't take much. Even low-level exposure can disrupt hormonal balance over time, but it gets worse. Recent testing revealed high levels of both BPA and another chemical called glycidol in canned tuna packed in oil. Glycidol is classified as a probable human carcinogen. So you're looking at a double threat: mercury in the tuna and toxic chemicals leaching from the can lining into that tuna. The oil or packing liquid actually helps these chemicals migrate more easily from the lining into the food you eat. And those BPA-free labels, don't get too comfortable. Many manufacturers have quietly replaced BPA with chemical cousins like BPS and BPF, compounds that may be just as harmful but haven't been studied as thoroughly. It's basically the same danger under a new name. Every time you open a can of tuna, you could be exposing yourself to a cocktail of synthetic chemicals your body was never meant to process. Over months and years, that exposure adds up. The truly scary part? Most people don't even realize this is an issue. They see canned tuna as a healthy, convenient source of protein and never think twice about what's seeping from the can into their food. This is why choosing the right brand matters. Some companies are actively working to eliminate harmful linings and test for chemical migration, while others are just doing the bare minimum to stay compliant. All right, enough doom and gloom. Let's talk about the good news, the 2 brands that actually got it right. The name says it all: Safe Catch Elite Wild Tuna. This brand is built around one promise: the lowest mercury levels of any tuna on the market. In fact, it's the only brand that meets Consumer Reports' strict safety standards for pregnant women, children, and other sensitive groups. Here's what sets Safe Catch apart. They test every single fish for mercury before it's canned. Not batch testing, not random sampling, every single fish. If any fish tests above their internal limit of 0.1 parts per million, it's rejected. For perspective, that's 10 times stricter than what the FDA allows for commercial tuna. This level of testing is practically unheard of in the seafood industry. It's expensive, it slows production, and it limits how much product they can sell. But the payoff is massive. You know exactly what you're eating, and you can eat it with real peace of mind. Safe Catch also earns points for sustainability. They use pole and line fishing methods that minimize bycatch, meaning fewer dolphins, turtles, and other marine species are harmed. Their cans are BPA-free, eliminating another source of potential toxins. And because they cook the tuna just once directly inside the can, the fish retains more nutrients, omega-3 oils, and natural flavor. Now, all this precision and care comes at a price. Safe Catch costs roughly 2 to 3 times more than standard supermarket brands. But when you consider what you're actually avoiding, high mercury exposure, chemical contamination, and questionable sourcing, that premium starts to make sense. And here's a helpful comparison. Among conventional brands, Bumblebee Chunk Light Tuna was found to have the lowest average mercury levels. That means if you're looking for a more budget-friendly option, you can safely eat up to 3 5-ounce cans per week without exceeding the recommended mercury intake. In short, Safe Catch isn't just marketing safety, they're proving it, one fish at a time. Wait, didn't we just say to avoid Bumblebee? Yes, but only their albacore products. Their Chunk Light Tuna, made from skipjack, is an entirely different story. Bumblebee Chunk Light consistently tests among the lowest mercury options in the affordable, mainstream tuna market. It's not quite as pristine as Safe Catch, but it's far safer than any albacore product and dramatically cheaper. This is the tuna your grandparents probably ate. Small skipjack fish, packed in water, nothing fancy, nothing flashy. And guess what? They had it right all along. According to Consumer Reports and independent mercury testing, Bumblebee Chunk Light can be safely eaten up to about 12 ounces per week for most healthy adults. That's roughly 2 to 3 standard cans. A big difference compared to the 1 can per week limit for albacore tuna. If you're on a budget and can't spring for Safe Catch every time, Bumblebee Chunk Light is your next best option. Just make absolutely sure you're buying the Chunk Light variety, not albacore. That distinction makes all the difference. Also, go for versions packed in water instead of oil. You'll get less sodium, fewer additives, and lower risk of chemical migration from the can lining. For most people, alternating between Safe Catch when you want the cleanest option and Bumblebee Chunk Light when you're watching your budget is a smart, balanced strategy. You'll keep your mercury exposure low while still reaping the nutritional benefits of tuna. Lean protein, omega-3s, and all. So here we are. We've pulled back the curtain on 5 tuna brands that could be harming your health, and uncovered 2 you can actually trust. Drop a comment below. Which brand surprised you the most? Do you have any of these in your pantry right now? If you found this valuable, hit subscribe. We're on this wellness journey together, exposing hidden dangers in everyday foods, from breakfast cereals to protein bars and those healthy snacks that aren't so healthy after all.